Welcome to Wisdom Wednesday 137. Vulnerableness heals the wound. Question. I've had several traumas in my early life, and certain people trigger me, and I feel threatened by them, and I criticize them. At other times, I would admire this type of person, but I am on guard with them. I want to heal these traumas so I am not so reactively triggered. What do you suggest? Okay, you're talking about the original wound. All of these traumas come from your original wound, which is the sense of separation from the divine. And your first trauma revealed to you this original wound, or perhaps that's when we could say that's when the wound happened, your first trauma. Someone crossed the boundary and hurt you, and now you feel triggered in their presence. So it means that if you are still reacting after all these years, that means that wound is not healed. It wants to be healed. But the ego doesn't want to have it healed. And this is what you need to know, and that's the discernment here. It wants to be healed. You want to feel the healing of that. But the ego does not want it healed because its life is dependent on the wound being the wound. Because it came into existence as a result of the wound. The sense of separation equals I am a body. I am a person. If you were not separate, you wouldn't have an ego. So, but wounds are the source of ego, the ego structure. So, you want to heal the wound. So, in order to heal the wound, you have to find someone who you can trust, which means that person would have to be pretty close to egoless, right? So, because if there was an ego person in there, and that's why the ego doesn't want anybody come near that wound, and that's why you feel threatened by them, because you sense ego. So the only kind of person that can be close to you allowing them in to heal your wound has to be an egoless person. And that's not easy to find. And that's why it's very difficult for a lot of us to heal our wounds. And that's what keeps the ego structure alive and happy and continuing to make us suffer. Because we haven't found the safe environment, the safe feeling of that sense of like, I can now relax and open up to my vulnerableness. Because that's what it takes. It takes when you find that person or that safe environment where you can break down and feel tender and feel the pain of separation and allow the tears to come. You need to feel vulnerable. Vulnerability is actually the key here. That is what will heal the wound. You need to sit inside of your wound and feel the pain of the separation. And as you're sitting inside of the wound, feeling the pain actually changes. It dissolves. And it turns into this sweet surrender of like connecting with your higher self, the part of you that is egoless, the part of you that loves you. I call it love. The love part comes in and heals. So when you're allowed to be vulnerable and that you feel that safetiness, then the healing can take place. So an example that I like to use is the white suit of the beekeeper. Now, there's something about the bee community. The bees don't feel threatened by white. So the beekeeper has to wear a white suit. Otherwise, if it's a dark color or any other color, they feel a bit threatened, or it attracts them in a certain way. But it's kind of obscure, that white color, to their eyes. So the beekeeper can do the operation of taking care of the bees and doing all the changing the honeycombs around, or various things that it needs to do in order to support the bee community. So that person who is egoless is sort of the one who's wearing the white suit. Your ego does not see it as a threat. So it's a trick. You need to trick the ego, because the ego, as I said, will not let anyone near that wound, because its life depends on the wound. So in order to get to the wound and sit inside the wound and allowing the healing to take place, the person that you're working with has to be wearing the white suit, according to the ego. So the ego doesn't recognize it as a threat. Then the simple operation of allowing yourself to feel soft, to feel touched, to feel like there's a higher force greater than the ego that is there to love you, to take care, to nourish you. And you can cry, you can melt in that sweetness of that higher love. So what I suggest is that there's a couple of things you can do. You stay open to the most egoless person. That could be in the form of therapy or a group situation where you trust the facilitator. And you go ahead and you do therapy sessions. Or you can do what's called surrender meditation and learn about the surrender meditation and practice it every day, where you are offering your ego and fears and concerns up to the divine. And it's like an offering upward. And every day you can feel the softness of the divine entering into you, and the ego is getting further and further away from you, and there's less ego operating you. So I hope that's helpful, and I'll see you next Wisdom Wednesday. Bye for now.